The way this is set up is this client object, the dot method is overridden. So there's a dot operator that you can override when you define a class. We didn't do that when we made any of our classes, but you can do it. So if you say like client dot, and then let's call the database course instructors. What this is going to do is this dot here is going to say, take this thing and use it as the name for a database. And if that database doesn't exist, create it and return the database here. So this should be a database now. And usually this is really handy because it makes it really easy to make new databases, but it's also a little bit of a pain in the ass because if I misspell this, it's going to make a brand new database without giving me any kind of error message. I can basically put anything in here and it will make a new database with that name. And no kind of warning at all. So have to be really careful when you're doing this. It's convenient, but it's really not very safe. The good news is that if you make a database and you don't actually put anything in it, it doesn't get flushed to the cloud anyhow. So it's virtually not going to do anything. And then under database, you have something called a collection. So a database is a collection of collections. And a collection, you can think of it in the same terms as you think of a table. So a table is a collection of rows, and each row represents one thing in your universe. So for example, if I was doing a SQL database, I would have a table for instructors. And then each row in the instructors table would be an instructor. Here, a collection is like a table, and except it holds documents. So a collection holds documents, and I can have a collection called instructors, and then each document in the instructors collection will be a document representing a single instructor. And remember, a document is just a dictionary. So basically, I'm going to have a collection of dictionaries called instructor. So instructors is equal db.instructors. This makes a new collection called instructors and then stores it in the variable instructors. So here's my client, here's my database, here's my collection. And then nothing really happens until I add the first document to the collection. And that's when it actually saves the stuff out in the cloud. So let's go ahead and add a database to the collection. And to do that, I'm going to go to my user interface here and scroll up to my read method. And here's my first instructor. And go back to database, and let's go ahead and put that in a comment. And so what I really want to put in my instructor is instructors dot, and then to add a document to a collection, you call insert. And you can either insert one document or you can insert a list of documents. If you want to do one document, you do insert one. If you want to do a list of them, you do insert many. I'm just going to do one for now. And then inside the parentheses, you just put the dictionary you want to insert. So I can either just type my dictionary here like so, like last name, colon, Caramella, and first name, colon, Rocco, and so on. Or I could make this as a separate object, like so, like RC equals this dictionary, and then insert one RC. Either way is going to do the same thing because either way, I'm creating a dictionary and passing it into insert one. Now, what I want to do though for these properties is basically, I'm going to want to take a dictionary later on when I read it out of the database and turn it into either a full-time instructor object or a part-time instructor object. And so to make my life a little easier, what I want to do is basically, I have these properties here and I want to match the names as closely as possible because that's going to minimize confusion. So like if I did first name in upper camel case for this property, then I'd always have to sort of mentally shift back and forth between, am I using lower snake case or upper camel case? And it opens the door for more mistakes. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to use these exact values as the keys for my dictionary. And that's what I'm going to store in the database. So this will be last name and first name. And then the other thing I'm going to do to make sure that I don't screw things up is I'm going to match the order there. So first name, last name, middle initial, G number. So first name, last name. And then middle initial. Is A, and I have an extra comma there, so let me fix that. And then G number is that. Now, to make it easy to determine whether I want to do a full-time instructor or part-time instructor, I'm also going to add a type column. So that's going to be something that I didn't have before, but I'm going to add it so that it's easy to figure out which one to create here. And then, so the type of Rocco is going to be full-time instructor. So I'm just going to match the class name there. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to do this insert, and this is actually going to return something. So we'll do result equals that. And then let's print results. So now I'm going to run my code. What I got when I ran it was, this was what I got for result. So when you execute this insert one command, it adds the document to the collection and then it returns one of these insert one result objects. And then this insert one result object has a property called inserted ID that we care about. So I want to actually show you the contents of this object. So I'm going to put a breakpoint right there on my print statement, and then I'm going to run it under the debugger by clicking the bug icon. And so now it's stuck at the debugger right after this command. And so I can open up result to see it. And so here's the inserted ID property. And it's an object of type object ID, which is actually in bson.objectID. And it's got a unique string, which you can think of as a hash code or a fingerprint or whatever. But basically, this is a unique number that's only going to be assigned to this one object that I entered, that I stored in the collection, inserted into the collection. So this is the one of the only rules of MongoDB. It's really flexible in terms of what you can do. The one requirement is that each object, each document that's stored in the collection must have an ID. And if you don't provide it, MongoDB will make up a new one for that document. And the ID must be unique for each document in the collection. And that's it. So basically, if you already have something that you know is going to be unique for each object, you can specify it in the document before you insert it into the dictionary. And if you don't have anything that you can use as a unique key to identify each document, then MongoDB will make one up for you, and it will return it when you do the insert. So this insert tells me I had to make a new object ID, and here it is, so that I don't have to do a database query in order to find out what ID was assigned to this document. What I can do instead is I can just say rc.under ID equal result dot inserted ID. And then this is a dictionary, so this isn't going to work anyhow. So what I really want to do is this for now. Okay, and then now I'm going to go ahead and print my RC so we can see the ID. So I'm going to stop and rerun it. So here's my RC, and it has all the stuff I had in my dictionary. And then there's a new property at the end for ID, which is of an object of type object ID with the value that string.